Hello and welcome. I am Walt, and today our guest comes to us from a health cabin, and it is the Vaporesso Polar. Let's see what we got. I decided to show the box on this one because I think it's kind of neat. I'm not going to go into all four sides of it, but what's neat about it, you got a little tab here, and the sleeve just pulls right off of it. You open up the two halves, which you can see are, each of them are fairly wide, and there you have two little compartments. And there again, I just think this is neat. You got a little thumb hole, finger hole, you can pick that right out of there. And you open this one up. You got some literature, a user manual, and a nice braided USB cable. On this side, you flip this open. There's your mod. And a nice presentation. Got an extra coil here. You've got the tank for the kit right here. Here's the extra glass. It's a straight glass. Hopefully you can see that. And on the inside of there we have some extra O-rings. See what else there might be. There's an extra seal for the top. I can see that in there. Yeah, that's about it. O-rings and a seal for the filler top. Definitely enough. Okay. That's opening it. The tank itself. On the top, we have a 510 drip tip. Pops right out of there. Obviously, any 510 you want to use. There's our chimney in there. Put that back on. The filler is different again from many. You pull up on the entire cap, and then you push it, and it rotates off to the side. It's a single fill hole, but there's plenty of room there to get whatever you're using to fill it to one side and let the air escape out the other side, so that works very nice. Slip that around, let it pop back into place. The atomizer, unscrew the bottom, that comes right out of there. You can see I've been using this, I'm going to continue to use it. That's a mesh in there, and that is putting out some very, very nice flavor. Pretty conventional here. You can see I got e-juice on it too. You just unscrew that, and you can see the base. Screw it back in, or whatever one you want to use. Changing them out. Getting slippery. Obviously good practice. This is there's all cotton around here. It's good practice to go ahead and put a little e-juice on there when you first start it up to prime it. Looking at the bottom of it, you can see our barely protruding 510 pin and the bottom of the addy right there. Airflow control. Does not have stoppers on it, and it goes around and around and around. Well, I'm done doing the coil is what I'm doing. It does have stoppers on it. I apologize. We're just going to do this when we put it back together. Okay. No. The bottom and the top are reverse threaded. So that's how we get the bottom off there, and of course you can pull the glass out of there at that point. The top as well comes off. There's not much to show you in there. A little bit of the mechanism that allows it to clamp down, but shouldn't be something that you necessarily have to do. There I go. I'm trying to turn it on the wrong way. Reverse threaded, Walt. Reverse threaded. Okay, there we go. So Putting the bottom back on this guy. Tighten that down a little bit. Now we can, and I'm undoing something else because of the reverse threading. Okay, we'll get it all together. There we go. Okay, so, and here you can see airflow control, stoppers on both sides. It stays extremely well. In fact, it's a little hard to pull around, but it is movable. So that's our little tank. Now the mod. On the front, real nice big screen, 3 buttons down here, up, down, and or plus or minus, and a set button. It says Polar on the top, rounded all the way around. Very nice in the hand. On the side, nice big fire button, hinges from the bottom, clicks from the top. The top sets out more than the bottom. It's almost like a little bit of a rocker switch. Looking at the back, kind of a neat design, I guess. Interesting. Nothing on the side. On the bottom, you got some battery venting. And on the top, a centered 510 spring-loaded, coated connector. Batteries. Over here on the side, we got a little place to put our fingernail. Pops right off. There is no strap in here, not necessary. Batteries come out real nice and easy. You can see that spring-loaded contacts are on the top, both sides, and they're not spring-loaded on the bottom. You can see the 3 magnets that hold the back door on. Okay, obviously watch your polarity, and simply take this guy and push it up against the spring-loaded one and let the bottom drop in. That simple to load in the batteries. This is interesting. Caution, do not use battery with broken skin. That's cool. Please use high rate discharge equal to or greater than 35 amps. Okay, as soon as I find that battery, I'll definitely put it in there. So, at any rate, drop the lid back on there, snaps into place real nice. There is a tiny bit, a little movement side to side on this. Nothing I noticed during normal use, but worth mentioning, it is there. Okay, next up we'll see if we can't figure out how to navigate this thing. 5 clicks, turns it on. 2, 3, 4, 5. And there we can see it coming up. The screen is tinted. You may have a little bit difficult time in broad daylight. Up at the top, the 2 battery indicators. Right here it says VW, variable wattage, and normal preheat. Right in the center we have the wattage that it's set for. Resistance, it says 9.99 because there's no atomizer on there. This is the puff counter. Over here the voltage applied, and over here the seconds of the last puff. So to adjust, oh yeah, and you saw it go back into the clock. You'll probably see that more than once while we're doing this. And here you can see we can adjust wattage. Goes up to 220, goes down to, I don't know, something like 5 if I remember right. Okay, so in the center here, the little center button, click it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Instead of the fire button. And this is where we can get in here and do our adjustments. There we go. I'm not going to go into that one. That's just variable wattage high. That's variable wattage normal, and it just goes into that wattage screen. Here is variable wattage soft. And here is CCW. Go into there, and we can set a custom curve for the wattage. Every time you press the fire button, it moves over 1 bar. Every time you press up and down, it'll change the what wattage you want applied. To get out of there, you press and hold that center button, and there we go. We're in customer provided or custom wattage mode. So 1, 2, 3, and the next one is SP. That is some kind of super duper thing that's supposed to allow you to use a little bit lower resistance than normal, and I don't mess with it. I just don't like that concept at all. Okay, here is variable voltage. Get into there, drops right into the screen, and you can see, you know, basically the same screen. It says VV up there for variable voltage, and you can change your voltage as you desire. 1, 2, 3. Next one is CCV. Here, okay, here you custom curve again, but you're working in voltage instead of wattage. Same deal going on. Long hold, and we're into that. 1, 2, 3. Stainless steel, temperature control. Here you can set the TCR. How about that? It's at 110. 1, 2, 3. You do have to go back in every time once you pick one of these submenus. Here you can set the power, whatever power you want available for the temperature control. Here you can, there you go, it's showing you set at 50 watts. 1, 2, 3. Here's a CCT. You can go in and do a custom curve for temperature, and you've seen that in the other two, variable voltage and variable wattage. You can go down to here and you can unlock or lock the resistance. Obviously it's a good idea to lock it if you're using it in temperature control. I'm going to end up in wattage control on this, so I'm going to leave it unlocked. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And the next one down, we have nickel, then we have titanium, then you have M1 and M2. Those are two temperature control settings where you can set custom TCR however you like to. Here we go into BP, that is bypass. That's real simple, it shows you bypass. 1, 2, 3. Here we go into set. You can set the time. And you have choices between a pointer, nothing, and a number. That's a digital clock there. I like the pointer. And every time you hit the center button, it'll move over one. So here you can adjust the month. Here you can adjust the date. There the year. 24 or here 24 or 12 hour. Here you can adjust the hour, the minute, the second. And when you get all done, long press gets you out. This time it stays after long press into the set menu. Brightness, that's simple enough. You set the brightness of the screen. Puff counter, you can get in, and I hit it anyway, so there you go, you see it. Here you can get into the puff counter, reset that. Here you can get into different theme colors, and here you can get into smart on and off. This thing will guess at what wattage it thinks you should be using if you turn smart on. I don't care for smart myself. Okay, here you have auto on and off. That's auto shut off time, and I don't care for that. Here's a screen timeout. You can set the amount of time for that. Here's the version. You can look at the version of the firmware, and here you can set it back to defaults. Here you can go to exit. That's a little different there. No long press. You got to go to exit, then you hit enter, and you're in. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go back to wattage. 1, 2, 3. And it'll round robin here, and I'll go to variable wattage normal, and I'll hit enter, and variable wattage normal. There I go, 88 watts. I'm in and ready to go. Now you can hold these two down, and they go right into custom curve wattage automatically for you. And we're going to talk about that because that to me is a little weird. Okay, now hit OK, and as far as any other kind of button presses, this one's going to bring up the, that one's going to bring up the clock with the fire button, and this one pressed at the same time. Press these two guys at the same time, it's going to do absolutely nothing. So there you have it. And we're going to go back to, again, variable wattage normal. Okay, that's navigating the little guy. Performance. Here we have the mod set to 220 watts, and it is at 0.15 ohms. It achieved 5.12 volts and a power of 175.8 watts. Yeah, a little ways away from that 220, but respectable. And the rise time is real quick, 2 milliseconds. Here we're at the 0.15 ohms again, but we pulled it down to about 100 watts, something a little more normal. It put out 4 volts. It achieved a little bit better than the 100 watts, 106.7 watts. Rise time again real quick, about 2 milliseconds. And it did decide to give me 122 watts for the first 100 milliseconds. Changing the resistance to 0.27 ohms, again with the full 220 watts. It put out 7.36 volts, and it achieved 200.6 watts. A little more than it did at the lower resistance setting. Rise time, 2 milliseconds. Staying at that 0.27 ohms and bringing it down to 65 watts, we have 4.12 volts applied and 62.8 watts, pretty darn close. 2 millisecond rise time. A little weirdness here, 110 watts for 100 milliseconds, followed by 97 watts for another 100 milliseconds. Moving the resistance up to 0.6 ohms, again at 220 watts, 8.72 volts, and power achieved 126.7 watts. Rise time about 2 milliseconds. Fast rise times on all of these, and it is not cheating you as far as what it's giving you for wattage. Staying at the 0.6 ohms, we put 40 watts on it this time. 4.96 volts, got 41 watts, rise time at 2 milliseconds. Pretty close to what we've been seeing all along. Here comes the weirdness again. 97 watts for 100 milliseconds, followed by 89 watts for another 100 milliseconds. Pushing the wattage up to 220 watts again, and pushing the resistance up to 1.01 ohms. It put out 9.24 volts. It hit with 84.5 watts and a 2 millisecond rise time. That's a lot of power for that kind of resistance. Okay, staying with the 1.01 ohms, dropping it down to 20 watts. The mod put out 4.72 volts. It achieved 21.8 watts. Rise time at 2 milliseconds, quite fast. And here comes that initial burst again. 29.5 watts for 125 milliseconds at the very start. All of these, by the way, are in the normal preheat mode. Taking a look at what it does with a soft preheat, you can see that it reduced the wattage down to 18.5 volts from the 20 volt set for about 200 milliseconds. And here's our hard preheat with the 20 watts again, and you can see that it gave us 29.5 watts. Not that different from normal, quite frankly, but for a little longer, 250 milliseconds. Variable voltage works fine. I set it for 3.7 volts, and it gave me 3.8 volts. Not quite what I set it for, but darn close. Bypass mode, it decided to give me 4.58 volts. More than what's on the battery, but not a heck of a lot more. And it's kind of different. At any rate, real fast rise time as well. This is why I said earlier that it's a little weird that when you press the up and down buttons at the same time and you're in wattage mode, that it jumps automatically into the CCW or CCV. That is not what I said on this thing. So it's, as it says there, not even close. Here again, variable voltage, custom curve. I'm not sure what that is. Not what I said for sure. Temperature control, stainless steel, 50 watts, available, 0.47 ohms. It came up with 67.8 watts. It hit it a little heavier than what I allowed it to. And the temperature I set for 110, it achieved 475. Now that might be a little better if I actually pull the TCR back down to 92 where it should be instead of the 110 that they set it for. But regardless, this thing does do a very nice temperature control. Vaporesso has come a long ways with that. It's nice, it's even, it's smooth, and you can see it's working through the juice in a real nice way there. And finally, talk about it. Okay, our Vaporesso Polar. I'm going to start out with the tank. I really like this little cap on here. Pull up and twist out of the way to fill it. And it's real nice and easy to fill. Don't get any problems with juice running all over or anything like that. To me, the aesthetic of it, I like it. I mean, all of this is just opinion at this point. It's short enough for me. I like the looks of it. It holds 6.5 milliliters of e-juice. That's fabulous. The coil in here is a 0.19 ohm coil. It is a mesh coil. Vaporesso has just come a long way with their tanks, especially what they're doing with these mesh coils. The flavor on this thing is outstanding. Period. It is rivaling a lot of my rebuildables. It really is just excellent. Plenty of adjustment on the bottom here for your airflow. It's the Cascade Baby SE tank, and I think it's just the bomb. I really like this tank. The mod itself, in variable wattage mode, it hits fast and it hits hard. It boosts everything, even in the normal preheat. So if you like that, you're home. You know, if you're more of in the vein of liking to taste some separation between the different flavors as they heat up, and that normal preheat and or a slower preheat works better for you, it's probably going to let you down a little bit in that regard. Although you can use the soft, which will pull back on it a little bit. Temperature control, it's excellent. It's a real nice smooth temperature control vape. It very, very pleasurable. All the custom modes, they're non-existent. They just don't work. I checked to see if there was a upgrade for this thing. Best I can tell, there is not. So I don't know, what to say about that. It just is. Bypass mode, it works, somewhat like a mech, a little bit higher voltage than just a single battery mech, but not a heck of a lot higher. Maybe a little bit more latitude in your builds, not a whole lot. The variable voltage, it works, it's fine. So the menu system, that's one place where they have come a long ways with this. The last one out that I had anyway, the Revenger, the menu system was pretty difficult for me. And this is just a piece of cake. It's intuitive, it's easy to follow. I can set things without a hassle. That I really enjoy. The 3-button system along with that menu system works out really well. I can't say that there's anything really wonky in there or anything like that. It's pretty much an average size 2-battery mod. It real nice in hand because of all the curvature and whatnot. It's not heavy, it's not light. It's got a real decent weight to it. It seems to be, at least to me, it seems to be a very sturdy mod, very well-made mod. It one nit that a fellow brought up on a forum about the Revenger, and this would have it too, is that the bottom is also tapered, so it may not sit as well as if it were not tapered. Sits fine for me. So with that, I'm gonna cut this thing short because obviously there were a lot of charts in there and everything. This thing went for half a forever. Would I recommend it? Yeah, why not? I mean, for the price point, for what you're getting, as long as you don't need the custom curves, as long as that's not your thing, whatever, yeah, you're gold. This is a nice mod, there's no doubt about it. Oh, you do have to reset the clock every time you pull the batteries because evidently there's no battery in there to keep it up when the thing's shut down. So, that's it. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Thank you, Health Cabin, obviously, for sending me this. And hopefully next time.